Welcome to the CLB Forge podcast. This is the show to help equip you and your church for mission, ministry, and multiplying disciples. Here are your hosts, Pastor Mike Natal and Dr. Ryan Nilsson.
Hello and welcome to the Milestone episode 50. I feel like we need to say that more epically, but I don't know how we could actually do that.
Well, you say it again.
50. Episode 50.
50.
Yeah, that did something.
Huh?
Yeah, no, that was good. So Ryan, we made it, dude. We made it.
Yeah.
Half of 100.
Half of 100. It's a special number.
It is a special number, 50. And we couldn't have done it without our guests. I personally couldn't have done it without you. And it's just been such a huge growing experience for me as I listen to our previous podcasts and just hear how things have evolved. It's amazing. Not only to see like where we've gone, but like when we started. So like, when was our first podcast? You know, off the top of your head?
Well, I think we released them in June, like the 22nd.
22nd
the day
of June.
Our show went live. We went live, June 22nd, 2020, and we went live with the first 4 episodes.
First 4. Yeah, and then from there, we released one every single Tuesday. And then we had one bonus track, right?
Yeah.
Which was with Sean Bowman.
Yep.
And we released that as like a little bonus. So that's been so interesting for sure to see where we've come from, and then also to see how the podcast has evolved in the way that we sound, in the way that we talk. And it's just been so interesting to hear that, right?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
What's been like one of your biggest takeaways from the last 50 episodes that we've done, like for you and me personally? Not like what was your favorite guest, because obviously every single one of our guests are our favorite, and not even what your favorite episode was, because obviously every episode was absolutely spectacular. But like, what was the biggest personal takeaway for you?
I think that this has helped people, that this show, that people have they've liked it, they're blessed by it or growing from it. Like, I mean, that's the whole reason we do it.
Yeah.
But I think when I run into people that say that, it hits me every time. Like, wow, this is something God is using in people's lives and in our churches and in our mission field. And it doesn't get old. It's really, really encouraging to see how God's used it.
Yeah, I agree completely. One of the biggest compliments that I feel and meaningful things that I've heard from a few people actually is that our podcast in the midst came at the perfect time. It was a blessing from the Lord that came at the perfect time in the midst of COVID to unify our denomination as COVID was trying to keep us separated.
Yeah.
And I was just so encouraged by that. And it wasn't just one person who said that, but multiple people have said what an encouragement it's been to have this consistency within our denomination.
Yeah. And I don't think we ever set out for the show to do that. Like, our purpose was to get resources to people to help encourage and inspire and share ideas and equip people. But man, what a huge blessing that's been to hear those stories, how the show's had a bonding effect in our church body. That's been really great to see.
Absolutely. That. And we look forward to the way that the Lord's going to use it as we move into the future, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, which is really exciting.
Yeah. So today, maybe we should explain what's happening today. Today's episode 50 could be the least valuable episode we produce that we've made so far,
but the most fun.
Yes, maybe the most fun. Nothing substantial. So when you're done listening to this 3 hours later and someone asks you, what did you learn? Maybe you'll laugh. I don't know.
But stay tuned until the end. Or if you're one of those Gen Z millennial people, you can probably just hit that little arrow with the 15 multiple times to get all the way to the end. Because we have a pretty big announcement
Yeah.
that we're going to be announcing at the
Big
end
news.
of
Yep.
this podcast, which is going to be fun.
Yep.
It holds to our mission statement, and we think that it's the way that we're being led to move forward.
Yeah. So most, when there's anniversary episodes, they tend to either be navel gazing,
Navel gazing.
navel
Do
gazing,
you
where you're
want?
like
Do
talking
you
about
want me to
yourself.
stand up?
and-
Do you want to see my navel
no,
right now?
No, pass.
Are you
pass,
sure? I could
wrong.
show it to you.
It's a metaphor.
Oh, okay.
Metaphor.
Okay.
And oh man,
See, you're thinking about my navel now. You can't unthink about it. Do you? I feel
most anniversary shows are either navel gazing, where you're kind of looking back and reflecting on what's been going on, or you're looking ahead to the future. And we're gonna do a little bit of both of those in the show today.
Minus the whole navel thing, because you won't let me stand up and show people my navel.
Hey, this is a family show, man. We're just gonna keep it safe.
So as we navel gaze, as Ryan calls it, I prefer to just think about looking backwards on it.
I love how we had a really great plan for the show, and it's already fallen apart for this episode.
Isn't that exactly how our podcast is? That's why we have guests on the show, to keep us kind of focused and centered. Because if it's just the two of us, then if we don't have a church on track thing where we know exactly where we're going, it just turns into this.
Yeah.
So let's get back on track. So here's where we're going next as we navel gaze. We're going to look back on some stats that I'm sure people are interested in hearing as we've gone through the last 50 episodes. So our stats, the first one that I would like to share is, let's guess? Yeah, go ahead.
Number of episodes. 50.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, nailed
50?
it.
It's actually, we have a bonus episode in there. So it's actually 51.
Nice.
But we didn't give that one a number.
Yeah, that's because we wanted to release it as quickly as we recorded it.
Yep.
So here's something kind of interesting. As you guys know, we do the Church on Track series. And along with those Church on Tracks, we also intermittently put guests in as well, where we have guests. And so over the last 50 episodes, we have had 40 guests on our show.
That's amazing.
Which is great. 40 guests. And I'm sure what all of you are asking right now, Mike, how many of those guests have you slept at their house? I know that's exactly what people really want to know.
And we get one more episode with you saying the word slept as slept.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
What do I say? Do I say slept? You
say slept.
And without the T at the end.
All the other humans say slept.
So here's what's really interesting about that. I realized that I take the T off of slept and I put it somewhere else.
Where do you
put it? I put it on the word ACROSS.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, I say across.
Oh,
across to the street.
Well, at least you know where it went. That's good.
Yeah. So there it is. So I took it off of slept in order to put it at the end of street.
Okay. So we've had 40 guests.
Yeah. 40 guests.
Which I think makes the show. We've done the Church on Track stuff, but over like 3/4 of our content are with these amazing guests. And that's really been a great hallmark. And how many repeat guests have we had, Mike?
Wait, you didn't let me say how many guests I've slept.
Yeah.
You just made fun of me for saying slept. I didn't actually say the number.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Because you immediately just went to making fun of me, which is really, I guess that's the bedrock of our podcast.
Go
is
ahead,
just
Mike.
making fun of Mike's speech impediments. so here we go. I have slept at 11 of our guests' houses. And by the way, just to let you know, Ryan, I counted you as a guest. So you are as you do your Church on Track thing. So otherwise we just have 39, but I consider you to be a guest because during the Church on Track, I'm kind of interviewing you. So anyway, I slept at 11 of those guests' houses, which means that it's more than 25%. more than
Yeah, that's
25% of our guests, I've slept at their house.
a little disturbing.
And I want to let you know, in order to fast track yourself to being a guest of this podcast, all you have to do is just invite me to sleep over your house, and then you're in. Here's a couple other fun
Mike
facts.
prefers basements and offices. Those are the places he seems to most often sleep in.
There you go. That's it. 100%. And then we have some doubles too. Ryan, how many doubles do we have?
We have 4 repeats. So we have
Mhm.
4 guests that have been on twice.
4
And-
guests that have been on twice. Who are
Yep.
they?
They are Gretchen Ronovic,
Nice.
Dr. Eugene Bowe,
Mhm.
Pastor Jason Lang, and Pastor Nick Olson. Those are
Very
our
good.
4.
And not to let the cat out of the bag or any spoiler alerts, but get ready, because really quickly after this 50th episode, we recorded 2 more people who have been on twice. And then get ready, we hat tricked it and gave somebody a 3rd guest spot.
The very next episode, episode 51, is a 3-peat.
Yep. But we're not going to tell you who, even though you can guess 1 out of 4 and see if you're right.
Yeah.
So, and then the next thing, which I know everyone is so excited to hear about, is how did the asking of which do you prefer, Star Wars or Star Trek, how did that go? So we went back through and we listened, and we're not sure if we had all of them. So like if a guest is listening and you think we misrepresented you and you'd like to contact us, mainly just to lift up Ryan's ego after I share with you the sad statistic of which one our guests thought was better, feel free to do that, because there's been multiple times where his wife has found him crying in the shower over this statistic.
Let's just get this over with. Just rip the Band-Aid off quick.
So
let's go.
Between the people that we've asked if they prefer Star Wars or Star Trek, we have 11 people prefer Star Wars and 5 people prefer Star Trek. Bam, 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 bam,
man.
bam. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's more than half, Ryan.
Yeah, that's about 2/3, I'd say. Over 2/3. We're gonna stop asking that question too. We're putting the debate to rest. I think we've got
Star
all the
Wars is
data
better.
we need.
Yeah, that Star Wars is better.
No, that's the
I will
conclusion we
though.
should come
Okay,
to.
so here's what I do want to encourage you with, Ryan. The one thing that I did notice is that the people who were Star Trek fans were emphatically Star Trek fans, like hardcore. Like Star Trek is the best. Where like with Star Wars people, they said Star Wars, but there were only a few who were, I would say, as passionate as the Star Trek fans.
Okay, so maybe we could say like the people who said they like Star Trek, to put it in another word, they could probably name 20 characters, right?
Sure.
The people who said they like Star Wars, maybe they could name 4 or 5. Maybe is that a fair way to kind of explain what you're saying?
I mean, I
Star
guess
Trek people are way more into it, and the Star Wars maybe some more of a casual viewer.
I would say that people in general have casually seen Star Wars far more often than Star Trek.
Okay. And I will say too that we had several guests that voted for Star Wars for the sake of a relationship with a child, with one of their offspring.
Still counts. Doesn't make a difference. Star Wars will go down in infamy as being better than Star Trek, and at least for our podcast. And we'll move on. So the new question, Ryan, that we're asking, and I would love to pose it to you, and then maybe I'll answer it too, is what was your favorite childhood cartoon?
So for me, I would say G.I. Joe, because I just thought the stories were great. If I watched them now, I'd probably think they were terrible, but I really was just enthralled by the action of the episodes. And I've since found out like they have all this high tech gear, because in cartoons there's like this ethic where you don't show people shooting realistic guns in kids cartoons. So it's all kind of a sci-fi futuristic. So they all have like laser blasters instead of, M16s and
Right.
squad automatic weapons and things like that. So uh, that's that. I think those are a couple of the highlights for GI Joe. And then terrible explosions. No one seems to ever really get hurt. But all kinds of destruction everywhere. And I had all the GI Joe toys too.
Nice.
So they successfully marketed to me as a kid. How about you? What would
Very
you
cool.
say?
I would say my favorite one, it was pretty obscure, and it was called Dino Riders. That was probably my favorite childhood cartoon. And basically what it was it was humans and dinosaurs and aliens living together. And the hard part was that the humans really wanted to befriend the dinosaurs. And so they worked alongside the dinosaurs, getting to know them, where the aliens, they just wanted to control the dinosaurs. So they made things called brain boxes. And oh, what?
They had like implants.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I remember this.
And
I
they
think I've seen
put
it.
the brain
Okay.
boxes on the dinosaurs, and then the dinosaurs would then be they would be able to control the dinosaurs. So instead of controlling them, the humans were able to work alongside them, and it was mutually beneficial. And they
Okay.
always ended up, being able to work alongside someone. That's the moral of the story,
So
as opposed to controlling them.
And in this friend relationship, the dinosaurs never just casually devoured humans when they were hungry.
Well, see, now that's where it also runs in, and I'll have to go back through and watch this. I'm nearly positive that all the dinosaurs that the humans befriended were definitely herbivores. And then,
Oh, okay.
because I remember one of the ones that the aliens had was the Tyrannosaurus. And I don't
Oh,
think that the
okay.
humans befriended a Tyrannosaurus. So, and they had like raptors and some other ones. So, yeah,
The humans are really playing it safe.
the humans,
Otherwise,
yeah,
it probably would have been like a horror show
probably.
type cartoon. Otherwise,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Okay.
So that's my favorite
All
one.
right.
So
It'll
we'll
be fun
be
to hear
asking
from
that to
guests.
our guests.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's move on to the next portion, where we spend a little bit of time listening to some voicemails that some individuals, what was it, about a month and a half ago or so, we posted, wanting to hear from individuals or asking questions. We really appreciate that, and we're going to play some of them now. But before we get to those, it took us, Ryan, 10 episodes
10. Wow.
10 episodes
Yep.
to finally hear from one of our listeners. And it was an episode with our good friend Kari Janus, who has been trying diligently to get us to start a CLB sports podcast. And so we were talking about sports on episode 10, and we got our very first listener call by a man named Keith Waldrich. Ryan, do you want to share that voicemail?
Let's listen. Our very first listener feedback.
Let's
It's a
listen in.
special moment.
I'm listening to the podcast, and lo and behold, all is going well. There are some things that are somewhat questionable, other things that are really good, and then we get to the end. The end where we start ragging on the Jets, the best football team in New York. I don't know what happened. I don't know what you guys were talking about. Whining Jets fans? No. Apparently, you haven't talked to me. Apparently, you've been misguided. It'll be fun to chat about some things. You can never have a sports podcast. You don't know the first thing about it. Talk to you later, brother. Later, bye.
Wow. It's amazing. As early as episode 10, you just feel the love from our listeners. That kind of
100%.
encouragement, to get that as your first listener feedback. How encouraging was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I enjoyed it. The hilarious part was that he was literally whining about whining Jets fans.
Yeah.
which I found absolutely comical.
Yeah. So in episode 10, you guys are talking about you and Kari got into sports, which I just can't do that with you. I don't know anything about sportsing. And we talked about you and Kari starting a spin-off CLB sports show.
Mm-hmm.
And he just Keith felt you were thoroughly unqualified
Yes,
to
definitely
host such a thing.
And I mean, to his defense, we haven't started our sports podcast yet. But I guess if we did, we would need to talk to him first, as the Jets fan that he is. So there it is.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Keith, for sharing.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, we appreciate that a lot.
Our next caller that we're gonna play for you left a little message for us, and his name is Craig Olson.
Hi, my name is Craig Olson. I'm a long-time listener, but a first-time caller to your show. Probably one of my favorite episodes was the one you had with about Luther with Dr. Eugene Bowe. That was very interesting to me. And I find that most of your episodes give me something to think about and wrestle with. And for that, I thank you. And to wrap up, I would like to say, may the force be with you as you live long and prosper. Thanks again. Bye.
Craig, we appreciate that call, especially how ecumenical you kept it by saying, may the force be with you and live long and prosper. For those of you who have absolutely no clue of what Craig is talking about, those are two major quotes from both Star Wars and Star Trek. Perhaps you know that, maybe you don't, but now you do. And the more you know, G.I. Joe. No, what's the G.I. Joe slogan? The more you know?
No. Knowing is half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle. What's the more you know? What's that from? Is that Reading Rainbow?
That's NBC's public service announcements.
Bum, bum, bum.
Don't hit animals with rocks. Animals have nerve endings and you can cause pain. Don't be a bully, right? And then the star,
the more you know.
Rainbow.
Oh, that's right. And it goes,
yeah. The more you know.
So I was equally as appreciative for that Dr. Bowe episode as well. He had so many good points that he made, and we look forward to being able to tap into him as a resource, along with any of the seminary professors too that have come on to our show. They've been really impactful with what they had to share with us, and those are episodes that I've actually gone back through and listened to multiple times and picked out new stuff as I've gone.
Thank you, Craig, for calling in. Our next caller is Dirk McIver, and we're going to play this call. By the way, Dirk was in a Snapple commercial.
Which one?
The one where the person's put in a lie detector.
Was he the lie detector?
He was taking the lie detector test. Yeah.
What? I need to Google that once. I'm going to YouTube that immediately after we get done recording.
Okay. All right.
We should probably put a link in the show notes to.
I don't know if it's on YouTube, so if you can find it, maybe we should. Deal. And Dirk is probably not happy that I shared that information.
Oh my goodness.
Probably
Dirk,
should have asked
you're famous.
Permission to share that.
If it's on YouTube, it's
okay.
You're good.
So here is Dirk McIver's call.
Hey, Ryan and Mike. Hey, congratulations on your 50th episode of the CLB Forge podcast. Way to go. You've done more episodes than some TV shows. So way to go. Hey, as you guys know, COVID has given us opportunities to rethink our ministry in the local congregation. And for some struggling churches, this COVID has given them an opportunity to dream a new dream. And what you guys have done in your podcasts and has put some nuts and bolts into those processes. So congratulations. Thanks so much for doing that. I do have two quick questions for you guys. One is, over the past 49 episodes, what has been your greatest highlight? What would you say was the biggest highlight of these episodes? And then another question I have for you guys is, is doing the podcast as a whole. What were some of the struggles that you guys faced in doing the podcasts? And how would you guys encourage others to do podcasts as well? So thanks again, and can't wait for another 50 episodes.
Nice. Thank you, Dirk, my fellow
Thank you, Dirk.
Succossana, New Jersey homeboy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We both grew up in the
Yeah.
same church. So
That's right.
it was good. Even though, it's amazing too. Like maybe I did know this and I just blotted it out of my memory, which I don't know why, but I am shocked that that's never come up before, this Snapple thing at Hillside.
I could be violating a great trust. So when I was a youth director, Dirk volunteered on our team, and he was one of our small group leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just wonderful. Served there, I think, 2 full years. Only towards the end was he willing to show us the commercial.
So it took him 2 years.
Closely guarded secret, and it was kind of the ultimate expression of his care and love of the group and his willingness to.
So it took him 2 years to share something that you just flippantly shared with everyone.
Yeah.
Oh,
so we have
Dirk,
a TV star
Dirk.
on our podcast now.
That's amazing.
Check that
So
off the
he
list.
asked some questions, Ryan, that I'd love to answer. I think that they're great. So the first one is, what's your greatest highlight? Do you want to share that, Ryan?
Yeah. Greatest highlights. I mean, I think I didn't know how much I would enjoy doing the show with you, Mike. Like, this has been so much fun having a co-host. I've loved listening to podcasts, and there's some great ones with solo hosts. My favorite ones probably have been the ones where there's a team of people. So I knew that having a host would probably be a lot of fun. But man, I've really loved hosting with you, Mike. It's just been such a fun project to work on together with you. I've gotten to know you a lot better. Our friendship has grown. This great ministry partnership has blossomed. And it's helped me to see the way. I just love how you connect with our guests and relate with them and stay connected with them afterwards. And you're such a great source of encouragement too. It's infectious. It's contagious. That's contagious, not infectious. Contagious, which is also kind of a negative word. You just make me laugh.
Oh man.
And I was going to save this kind of as a thank you for the end, but I'll just say it now. So I just thank you, Mike, for doing this show. I don't know if I've shared this story on the show yet or not, but when this show was getting going in the early months of COVID, I remember sharing with somebody, "Hey, we're getting this podcast going," and the person was like, "Oh, well, that's interesting," and I think they were kind of being polite. And then I said, "Yeah, and I've got a co-host." And he said, "Oh, really? Oh, who is it?" I said, "It's Mike Natal." And they went from polite interest to genuine interest and immediately pulled out their phone to go and find it. And I said, that's the Mike Natal difference that you've made on the show.
Oh man. Oh, I'm getting a little teary right now. Yeah. I would say that my greatest highlight, in addition to working with you, Ryan, one of the things that Ryan does great, and this is one of the things that I've really grown to appreciate so much in the podcast, is that you, Ryan, are so organized, and your ability to be organized is probably the thing that's my greatest highlight, because as we go through stuff, you have all of the answers, but you allow other people to verbalize those answers and take the credit for it without feeling threatened or upset. So I would say one of the greatest highlights is just kind of sharing what both of our skills are that God has given to us, and using them together, not in a way to glorify ourselves, but really to lift each other up in our friendship moving forward. So I would say that that's been the greatest thing for me, is really what you see on the podcast is a lot of behind the scenes work that Ryan has put in, and I get to show up and just have fun because Ryan does all the hard work, which is great. So that's been, and also the other huge highlight too is, as we've gone through and re-listened to the podcast too, how much has changed for the better. we've definitely evolved and adapted even in our speaking, and the way that we've interacted with guests. I feel like that's grown substantially as we've become more comfortable with each other and interviewing and doing the podcast. So I would say that that's probably the greatest highlights that I have.
I've really enjoyed our interviews with guests.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a privilege to get to listen to people, hear their stories, and just learn more about their faith journeys and learn from their ministry experiences. I think our listeners have been learning a lot, but I have too, and it's I'm better off for the experience.
Yeah.
And it's being a guest on a podcast, it's a commitment. You got to schedule the time. You got to think about how you're going to answer questions. It's a big commitment. And, for our guests to do that, it's really blessed a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dirk asked us another question. It was kind of a two-parter, and it was, what were some of the struggles, and then what are some ways that you can encourage others? So right out of the gate, I can think of a good way to encourage others as we kind of think through what the struggle was. So a good way to encourage others is, if you're thinking about recording a podcast, literally just do it. Like, I know that sounds like a easy way out, a cop out, if you will, but don't be afraid to just record it and put it out there. Even if it's not edited perfectly, or you don't have a person outside of yourself to do the editing, don't allow yourself to get bogged down in wanting the podcast to be perfect. Just get it out and allow it to evolve. Because what's really cool is, like, if you were to go from an episode from like 40 on, you're going to hear a substantial difference from episode 40 on, from episode 1 to 40. Even in the casualness of how we interact with each other, there's a difference between them. And the way that we interview guests, and the way even the location, while your location's never changed, Ryan, I think I looked at mine. My location changed, I think 3 or 4 times. Wow. And even my recording platform has changed. The microphone has changed. All these things have changed. And so I would just encourage people that you don't need to have all the right equipment up front. You don't need to have all the right editing. You don't even have to be worried about saying all the right stuff. If you're thinking about podcasting, just go for it and try. Ryan, what would be one of your encouragements as I think about one of our struggles?
Yeah, I would say an encouragement would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. So chances are somebody in your life knows something about podcasting. That's how we got started. Like, I have a friend, Phil Havens, who had a podcast called Bow Hunting Freedom. And so he had learned all about how to do podcasts. And so he coached me through and walked me through how to get started recording. And so that's how I learned all the technical requirements and things for recording. He got me started on how to edit. And then my other big friend in learning how to do this stuff was YouTube. So there's so much stuff out there. How do you do this in this program? So don't be afraid to ask for help. And it's just start off with kind of like what you said, Mike. Just start off with the quality you can produce, and make improvements as you go.
Yeah.
And I think we've learned problems that we've been able to address, and it's been just kind of gradually improving.
I would say, let's see. So if we answer the next question, which was struggles, or I guess if we answer the first part of the second question,
question
one
2A.
of the struggles,
Question 2A.
2A. One of the struggles, I think, was setting parameters and recording only specifically during planned out times. So it's easy to allow podcasting to really take over. And if you reach out to guests, allowing guests to decide when they record. And I'm not saying by not giving them options and just saying you can either do this or you can't. What I'm saying is don't be afraid to ask guests and see, like, can you fit within my time frame of being able to do it? So I think that was one of the struggles up front, was trying to be too accommodating, if that makes sense, and working around other people's schedules. Because I felt like in the beginning it was like we had one podcast one day, one podcast another day, one podcast this day, and it was just like intermittently thrown in all over the place. And I felt like that was a little bit of a struggle because it was just a lot up front as we were trying to gain content and hit the ground running, which is really what you want to do. You want to create a rapport. But I feel like now one of the best things that we do is we're consistent when we record. And if a guest can't work within those parameters, then we work alongside them to figure out a time that's mutually beneficial, as opposed to allowing them to dictate our schedule. We kind of give them our schedule first in hopes that it works out for them.
Yeah, I think those kinds of boundaries are really important, especially if, like us, you're adding this on to other stuff you're already doing, adding this on top of a full-time ministry or job or, career, or whatever that is. That's good advice. I think, batching, we usually we record 2 to 4 episodes in a sitting whenever we can. It just makes the most of our time. I think that's good. Oh, another thing I think we've done well is having a schedule. So we will talk about what episodes we want to have come next, and we're always working on scheduling them out. But one thing we agreed on right off the bat, and we may not appreciate how important this has been, but early on, I think this was your idea, Mike. We said that we would always have plans for like the next 8 episodes, so that we didn't get behind the crunch of production. And I think we've been able to do that pretty well. And sometimes it's been way more than that. As for a struggle, I think it was a challenge to do this with a smaller team. So doing this with a team of people is really, really helpful. Our team has grown, and it's bigger than when we started. And part of that has to do with our upcoming announcement. But we might as well do this now. We owe a big special thanks to Lindsay Natal. She has been doing our sound editing since episode 37. And we haven't introduced her yet. Adding her to our team has been a huge, huge help. And she's just been terrific. She'll very shortly be taking on our video editing as well. So actually this episode might be video edited by her. But Lindsay, thank you so much for taking the time to edit our episodes. It makes a big difference. And I think that quality difference, Mike, that we notice, I think Lindsay's the biggest factor, that she's taken on that work, which is, it's time consuming. You have to have an ear for it. And she's just learned how to do this and exceeded our expectations.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I'm a little biased and partial to her, obviously, because she's my much better half. And I think that's another thing too that's really helped me.
We should mention you can meet Lindsay in episode 24 because she was a guest too.
There you
episode
go.
24
with your wife, actually.
Yeah.
So, I think that's another portion that's really helped me grow personally in podcasts is she's very quick to, well, not very quick. She's very polite in pointing out certain idioms, I'll call them, that I use. And she's like, you use some of the same phrases over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's just kind of who I am as a person. And she said, well, maybe you should try using different catchphrases or intentionally start thinking about new ways to encourage guests or affirm guests. And so from that moment when she said that, now I more intentionally think of the words that just kind of come out of my mouth in a form of encouragement, that they are different. So I thank her for that as well. But she does tell me multiple times that Ryan does a much better job than I do, and therefore she doesn't have to give any critiques to Ryan because he's just podcaster extraordinaire. But let's move on to our last recording that we have before I allow Ryan to interject into anything that I just said. No. We're moving on. So the individual who I'm talking about is both Ryan and I's good friend, Kevin Scarrett. Ryan has known Kevin for a much longer time than I have, but I've really enjoyed getting to know Kevin over the last few years as he's served at Hope in Barnesville as their pastor. And he and I have gotten to know each other through social media means. And I overall am just always so encouraged with what Kevin has to say about our podcast. And so I was really grateful that he was willing to record something for us.
Hello, my name's Kevin Scarrett, and Mike and Ryan asked me to weigh in on their 50th episode of this podcast. How exciting, 50 episodes. Before I get into my thoughts, I do want to weigh in on the Star Wars and Star Trek debate that's been going on, and I'm a science fiction guy. I love it all, Star Wars, all of it, but I am a Trekkie. Sorry, Mike, I'm going to have to side with Ryan on this one. Hey, I find the programs to be just the right length to give me some meaningful meat to think about, but not so overwhelming that it's taken up too much time. I can put it on while I'm out for a walk in the neighborhood or on my car on the ride, and it's just about the right length for all of that. I've really appreciated the Church on Track discussions, the things that might derail ministry, and especially liked the gospel mentoring program with Gretchen Ronovic. That was great. I do wonder, could we hear maybe a little more on leader development and maybe even development of team members within a ministry team, those that maybe don't feel like they're quite up to the leading the whole program level, but how we can develop and keep encouraging their growth in their ministry areas as well. So leadership and team ministry, those are big things for me, and it'd be fun to hear some more on that. You guys have been a real blessing to me and to our whole denomination, I think, and I'm kind of hoping as we share this on our Facebook and social media feeds that it'll go out even beyond our denomination, and you can be a blessing out to the kingdom at large. So thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for calling in with that. And that's some good feedback from Kevin for some more episodes about leadership development and developing our ministry team members. We'll do it. We'll take that on. Those are really important issues to address. I think especially during COVID, we've come to see how important it is to develop leadership skills and abilities, expectations for our ministry leaders, and to be nurturing people as they're a part of a ministry team too. So those are some great topics. We'll dive into those. Before we move into our look ahead, just to end the navel gazing portion of our show, I do have a special treat here. I don't think I told you about this, Mike, but I have something in my hand that was referenced in episode 21 with Pastor Elroy Vesta.
Nice.
Funky Chunky. It is a peanut butter cup caramel popcorn. And this got referenced, and we kind of shut down the show until we understood what he was talking about. Here we go.
There it is.
Oh, it's good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elroy.
Thank you, Elroy.
Elroy's episode, by the way, maybe I should finish chewing.
Yeah, maybe.
Elroy's episode, he had a ministry where he was calling all the pastors in our roster and retired pastors, the surviving widows of pastors. I mean, just everybody. He's still doing that. He's in his 9th run through that list. And I mean, nobody in our church body's ever done anything like this before, and he's still going. So thank you for that, Elroy.
It's amazing. All right. So now we're going to move ahead to our looking ahead, and we have some really encouraging and monumental announcement to make. And so as Ryan and I have been thinking and praying about the CLB Forge and moving ahead and what exactly that looks like, we've been thinking about our mission statement, which is, Ryan, you say it so much more eloquently than I do. I just use the alliteration, which I know you really despise. So why don't you just eloquently talk us through our mission statement really quick?
Yeah, our three purposes of our show, we're here to equip people for ministry, leadership, mission engagement, and multiplying disciples. And I think that's really helped our show keep focus. I mean, we can cover a broad array of topics, but our goal is that every episode addresses one of those three purposes. And that's what we have in mind too, as we announce what's coming for the next chapter of our podcast.
Yeah. So an easy way to remember it is alliteration: mission, ministry, multiplying disciples. And so if we've been thinking through that and praying over that, we thought of, what would embody the CLB Forge and our mission statement better than if we begin to multiply in terms of hosts. And so we're excited to announce to you guys that moving forward, we're introducing 4 new individuals who will also begin to host with us. And so we're excited to have them come on board. Their energy is, what's a positive word for infectious, like Ryan used for me? It just really sucks you in. And I'm excited to bring them on board. And so we have a little video that we want to share with you as we introduce all of our new hosts.
Mike and I are really excited that we're expanding our team of co-hosts, and we're really excited about the episodes that they're going to be a part of. They're adding just a great vision to the show, more ideas, more resources, and way more talent. And so we're excited for you to meet
and looks
this
too.
Team.
They're much better looking than us too. So it went way up by inviting them.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. We're so excited to have you here, and we're just wanted to have a chance for our listeners and viewers to meet you.
So hi, my name is Lindsay Rosado. I currently work at Tuscarora Inn and Conference Center as the manager of ministry advancement. But I sort of grew up on Staten Island at the Bethany Lutheran Brethren Church there. I'm an alum of Houghton College, so Western New York has a little piece of my heart as well. And I'm a mom of 2 very funny little children, Lily and Eli, who are 4 and 2, and they're my hobby, I guess, and everything else.
I'm Sarah Pencil. I also work at Tuscarora Inn and Conference Center. I'm as the program manager, and just love the planning and getting to put on different programs and give people a place just to come and retreat. I grew up in Mount Bethel, moved from Western New Jersey to Pennsylvania, but spent most of my childhood here in Mount Bethel. Left to go to college, went to Penn State, go State, and then stayed significantly longer than I ever thought I would have. And moved back here to Mount Bethel about 5 years ago in 2016 to work here at Tuscarora, the place where I spent my childhood. And it is just such a blessing. I encounter God every time I'm here, and he continues to just bless me and open doors. My husband's name is Mark. He is an educator at our local high school, and my son is Michael, and he's one of the funniest human beings on the planet. And I am lucky to be part of this team.
Hi, my name is Luke Kellogg. I am a pastor currently on sabbatical, but I've served churches in Minnesota and also most recently in Princeton, New Jersey. I am husband to Bethany, father to Marigold. Originally from Clearbrook, Minnesota, northern Minnesota, way in the middle of nowhere. Cows outnumber the people 4-1, I would say. Hobbies I've got a lot of, but lately I've been watching this show on Discovery Plus called Wicked Tuna. I don't understand how this works.
Oh,
but you can literally, right? You can copy and paste any episode in any season into any other one. You would not know the difference, but for some reason, the show's cast its spell on me, and I'm on season 4 now, so I can't put it down, much to my wife's dismay. But I guess what excites me most about kind of God's kingdom is this unique message of grace that we have. And I think the longer I live, the more I begin to realize how drastically different it is from literally every single other, not just world religion, but the way that the human heart by default operates. This idea that God comes to us and God actually gifts us things rather than us having to climb upwards to heaven. So yeah, finding ways to connect that to people's everyday lives is a real passion of mine.
My name is Daniel Stenberg. I'm a pastor out in Bergenfield, New Jersey. I spent some time in Seattle, Washington area and up in Canada, a little time in Arizona. Yeah, kind of been around a little bit, but it's fun. It's good. I'm married to Karen. We have 6 boys. So Judah, Asher, Caleb, Silas, Elijah, and Noah. Life's crazy. It's nuts, but that's good. Like, we're chilling. We're having a good time. It's fun. So yeah, I'm excited about enabling and encouraging, and I'm hoping that I can do that. I can be a part of that as we move forward with the Forge podcast, and just enabling and encourage people in ministry and in the struggles with ministry, but also being able to help them move forward in ministry. And that's just, something I'm pretty passionate about. I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet, guys. Yeah, we are super encouraged to have all 4 of you join our team. Welcome on board, and we look forward to how you guys will be hosting into the future.
Well, welcome so much, Lindsay and Sarah, Luke, and Daniel to our team. It's so great to have you on board, and we're looking forward to our listeners having a chance to get to know you guys. And we're looking forward to the influence you're going to impact and change and add to our shows, the spirit of what it is. And we're really thankful for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Mike, we made it to the end of episode 50.
Man, and remember when we first thought of, we might not even make it to episode 7, because you said that the average life rate of a podcast was 7 episodes, and here we are at episode 50.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we, who knows what the Lord has in store for our show, but it's just been a wild adventure to be able to do this, and it's been a blessing.
The main reason, before you do your outro, which I know you're going to do an amazing job with, I just really wanted to say the reason why we can get to episode 50 is because of the encouragement that we have from a lot of individuals.
Yeah.
And so our listeners are really the individuals that spur us on.
Yeah.
You guys encourage us, you empower us, you fuel our desire to continue moving forward to do this and to offer something that our denomination has never really had before, which is this podcast. And so I thank you so much for your encouragement to do that. I've also been encouraged that this podcast has encouraged other podcasts in our denomination. Even the last episode that we shared with Jay and Nick, where they said that one of the main reasons why they started their own podcast was because of our podcast. And so we're hoping that maybe there are other individuals who are listening, who are thinking to themselves, I could do that. And I would encourage you that if you're thinking I could do that, just do it. You'd be shocked how much of an encouragement you can be to other people by doing it. So listeners, for real, thank you so much for your support, for your prayers, for your encouragement, because you're the real reason why we continue to do this and continue to offer these tools and equipment in order to glorify God and further his kingdom.
Yeah, Mike, thank you. That's a great note to end things on. I think our listeners have made this show the success that it is. And the show wouldn't have gone past episode 7 without our encouraging supportive listener base. So thank you all for being a part of the show. Thank you everyone for listening today. We'll see you next week. Please be sure to like our show, subscribe to it, share it with a friend. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
This has been an episode of the CLB Forge podcast with Pastor Mike Natal and Dr. Ryan Nilsson. Thanks for listening. We welcome your questions and comments. Email us at podcast@clbforge.org.
Is this the one where we like beatbox the outro instead of playing the song? Didn't we talk about that? Beatboxing?
I forgot about that.
Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom.